Hey there, Firsty friends. Today we're going to learn more about our brains and what it is, how it works, using our book, Your Fantastic Elastic Brain by Joanne Deek and illustrated by Sarah Ackerley. What does your brain really do? Does it fill the space between your ears? Well, yes, but your brain can do so much more. Your brain helps you think and remember and name what you see and what you hear. It lets you move your body and feel both touch and emotions. Your brain does all the things that make you you. So what is your brain? Is it a muscle? No. The brain is an organ in your body. It's made up of cells and tissue. The brain controls everything you do, everything you think, everything you feel, even when you dream. The brain has many parts that do all kinds of different jobs. The cerebrum. The cerebrum is the largest part of your brain. It helps you think and speak. Cerebellum. The cerebellum is a small part at the back of your brain that helps your muscles to coordinate your movement and your balance so that you can walk, ride a bike, or play tag. Prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex, or PFC for short, is the part of your brain behind your forehead. It lets you make plans and decisions. The hippocampus. The hippocampus is at the center of your brain. It works like a file cabinet to help you store and find memories. The amygdala. The amygdala is a tightly packed group of cells deep within your brain that controls your emotions. Neurons. Neurons are everywhere in your brain. They are tiny brain cells that make electrical signals to send messages to other cells in your body, telling them what to do. So let's think about the parts of our brain. We learned some important parts and what they do. First, we have the cerebrum. And the cerebrum is the largest part of our brain. What does our cerebrum do? Yes, it helps us think and speak. So that thought you just had, that's your cerebrum. That word you just said, that's your cerebrum. Now, let's talk about the cerebellum. The cerebellum controls your muscles and movements and balance. So when you learned how to ride a bike, that was your cerebellum hard at work, right back here. When you are walking on a balance beam, that's your cerebellum hard at work. When you're playing a game like tag or sports, or when you're just running around the house. That's your cerebellum hard at work. Now, our prefrontal cortex is right behind our forehead. Take your hand, rub your forehead. You can't feel it. There's something there. But if you could, you would be touching your prefrontal cortex. Your prefrontal cortex helps you make decisions. Like if you wanted to eat cereal for breakfast, that's your prefrontal cortex hard at work. If you wanted to plan out your day by doing school first and then play second, that's your prefrontal cortex hard at work. Now, next up is the hippocampus. And that hippocampus is wrapped up in the center of your brain. And it is like a filing cabinet because it stores all your memories and all the things you know. That is called your schema. Anything that you know or that you have learned or that you have experienced is your schema. And that gets stored right in the center of your brain, in your hippocampus. So when you remembered what you did last summer at summer camp, that's your hippocampus working. If you remembered that the word my is spelled M-Y from kindergarten, that's your hippocampus at work. And then the last part of our brain is called the amygdala. And the amygdala is in the hippocampus, but very teeny, tiny part in the middle of our brain. But it's got a big job. It controls our emotions. If you've ever seen Inside Out, that is your amygdala. Joy and anger and fear and sadness, they all live in the amygdala. So when you're feeling happy, that's your amygdala at work. When you're feeling scared, that's your amygdala at work. So to help us remember those amazing parts of your brain, we are going to body map. A body map is where we use parts of our body and our words to help us remember important things. So, I'm going to make my hand into the brain. I'm going to take my thumb and then curl my fingers around it. And this will be our brain. So remember, the largest part of our brain is the cerebrum. Cerebrum. Then we have our cerebellum. In the front of our brain, we have our prefrontal cortex. Then if we open it up, we have our hippocampus that stores our knowledge and memories. Anything that we've ever thought of or done is stored there. And within the hippocampus, we have our amygdala, and that controls our emotions. So let's do our body map together of the parts of the brain. Ready? We have cerebrum, cerebellum, prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, amygdala. Now, let's say what they do. We have our cerebellum, which controls our thinking and speaking. Then we have our cerebellum, which controls our movement and muscles and balance. We have our prefrontal cortex that helps us make decisions. We have our hippocampus that stores our memories, and our amygdala that controls our emotions. Now that you know the parts of the brain and how it works, we can move on to learning more about how to grow our brain.